After months of building up troops along its border with Ukraine, Russian forces invaded the European nation on February 24th, reigniting and escalating the conflict that began in 2014 and included Russia's annexation of the Crimean Peninsula. 2 days into the assault, which Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling a special military operation rather than an invasion, Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister Mykhailo Fedorov tweeted an urgent call for a very specific type of aid. He implored SpaceX CEO Elon Musk to provide his country with access to the Starlink satellite communications network in order to maintain access to the internet. He tweeted, "Elon Musk, while you tried to colonize Mars, Russia tries to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand." These pleas were not unfounded. Russia is expected to attempt to cut off Ukrainian communications in order to gain a strategic advantage, taking away internet access and creating a potential host of logistical issues in the process. SpaceX's satellite internet constellation could be a potential solution were Russian forces able to compromise Ukraine's communications infrastructure. Musk and his company acted quickly, enabling the service in Ukraine and sending more terminals to provide internet access to a greater number of people. In response to Fedorov's request, Musk managed to deliver Starlink terminals to Ukraine within 48 hours.
Well, Elon Musk confirming that SpaceX Starlink satellites are now active over Ukraine.
Using Starlink during times of war is not without risks, which Musk also pointed out in a March 3rd tweet. Mykhailo Fedorov confirmed receipt of the Starlink terminals he saw from Elon Musk, thanking the SpaceX CEO in a tweet just over 2 days after his initial request. Once again thanking Musk in a March 2nd tweet, Fedorov shared, "Starlink keeps our cities connected and emergency services saving lives." According to The Guardian, Starlink is unlikely to be used by everyday Ukrainian citizens. Rather, it's likely to be reserved for strategic use by Ukrainian officials in order to maintain their access to global communications. Unfortunately, using the satellite-based Starlink device increases the probability of being marked as a target for attack by the Russian military, which Musk pointed out in a warning to potential users. Musk wrote on Twitter, "Important warning, Starlink is the only non-Russian communication system still working in some parts of Ukraine, so probability of being targeted is high. Please use with caution." He then went on to elaborate that almost all Viasat user terminals in Ukraine have been rendered unusable by a Russian cyber attack on the first day of the war, and admitted that Starlink could meet the same fate. While a cyber attack wouldn't necessarily directly endanger the users of a Starlink terminal, it would still cut what could be a Ukrainian official's last line of communication with fellow Ukrainians and the outside world.
There is no heat, no cell service, and little food left.
Satellite signals can be used to target people and places in wartime, and if the Russian army catches on, Starlink users could be in danger. Assuming that the enemy is able to track down the Starlink satellite dish, it definitely puts a target on the back of the person that set up the device. Furthermore, Russian reconnaissance teams could target any visible communications equipment for destruction, increasing the danger of Starlink users being harmed in an attack. If Russia's aim is to cut Ukrainian communication as much as possible, the newly delivered Starlink equipment will undoubtedly be a prime target. Fortunately, Musk had some practical suggestions to go along with his warnings. He tweeted some follow-up advice for safer use of the Starlink terminals, advising users in Ukraine to only turn on their devices when absolutely necessary, and to place the antenna as far away from people as possible. He tweeted in response to a user who inquired about using spray paint for camouflage that it should in fact work, provided the paint is free of metal particles. While much of the recent Starlink news comes in support of maintaining Ukraine's communications capabilities, Musk recently said he'd received calls from unnamed governments to remove Russian news sources from the service and vowed not to do so, quote, unless at gunpoint, explaining the decision by calling himself a free speech absolutist. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SlashGear videos about the latest global tech developments are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.